Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Sorry about the elongated break between part one and part two, but we just all saw that Jake has long hair. I didn't realize that, and we're like, "Ooh, hey, sexy boy, how you doing?" Actually, it's funny because like now I kind of miss my long hair. Neil, can we grow our hair out together?
No,
But
I'm not growing my hair out. I'm
you
sorry.
you grew a beard for me. Why won't you grow your hair for me?
Exactly. I grew a beard for you. That's a compromise right there. Where's the compromise on your part? Hmm?
By the way, I'm just realizing that we have 4 degrees of beards up in here. You know what I mean? We have Tesh. We have Tesh the mane. He's got like the crazy mane, right? We,
Actually, I need
right,
to
right.
trim.
Because it's like that like almost silky long wavy hair. We have Jake got the mess. You know what I mean? It's like that super curly, very bushy, kind of longer. We have me, perfection, and Neil's the effort. You know, it's there. It's there.
That look of, hang on, like you look up, that's my name, and then you just paused. Hang on.
All right, so let's go back. So before we stepped away, before Neil sidetracked with his tangents like he always does, Tesh, you had actually asked me a question. You said like more or less, have I gotten any more visions and you're like that, da da da. Why don't you actually roll me an intelligence check? DC's low, and let's just remember, and just as a consistent thing, if you're ever looking for basic DM advice, like kind of common sense shit, that's usually going to be along the lines of a flat wisdom. If you're looking for like, do I remember something? Am I a dummy? Intelligence check, okay?
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm dummy.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to rely on your own memory from 2 weeks ago when we recorded that and you were rewatching it last week to see if there were any other details about that dream, hint, hints, tail end of the dream, that you might want to remember moving forward. But in the interim,
Yes, no, I do
while
remember. It's okay.
while you, I totally
I,
a little bit
you know
more.
what? No, no, it was actually, it would be perfect if I only remember this as I start, as the fire is like at nighttime starts to maybe wisp in a direction.
There you go. Maybe it does, and I will allow you to narrate your own rediscovery or remembrance or whatever. So Neely boy, during this time, I'm sure because obviously like you happened to be here, this is where things took place. Da da da. Da. It's almost like unconscious for you as your character's sitting there and the hours are rolling by into the evening, through the evening, night, and then morning as you guys prep and get ready. Not in morning yet. But at one point in time, I imagine you pull out your little stone piece that you had gathered while in this area beforehand and kind of like fingering through it, something to kind of like keep your mind busy. Um,
You mean the little stone? He didn't actually pick that one up at the end. Though I suppose actually, while he's sitting here for a day, like, why wouldn't he go off and find it?
You also might have grabbed it when you went round again, because remember
That's
you
true.
went through,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Whatever the case may be, I noticed something that was a point of interest for your character. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as you're fiddling with it, I'm actually going to allow Tesh to look upon it. And without making any check, because before we started the campaign, and I think we mentioned this in the session 0, before we started the campaign, I had everybody roll like a knowledge check of sorts to unveil certain information about the world and the starting and whatnot to the different PCs. Tesh happened to roll 25 or 26. So he's like, oh, those are paragraphs.
yeah. Like I have a couple pages of info.
So you can immediately recognize what it is. Not immediate, like as soon as he pulls it out, but like as he's been fiddling it for a while, you can recognize what it is. You can actually see from the structure of it, the way that the metal and whatnot's inlaid into it, and so on. That happens to be a bit of a chunk of stone from a mole building, but more than it just being of a mole building. You know that kind, the way that the stone is inlaid, the metal that's inlaid in there it was partially for design to like kind of set a certain awe-inspiring imagery for those that see it, because like the way that the light would glimmer on the metal inlaid into the stone. But more than that, it was actually also in there because it added a certain degree of enhanced structural integrity. The mole were incredible architects. Even if they weren't the ones that actually did the labor, they were incredible architects and what it was that they had designed the buildings that they lived in. But seeing that thing, and before saying anything necessarily about it, you do recall your research before you left your home and started heading this way did unveil to you 5 different locations of interest. One of them you had already encountered in your past, and unfortunately you weren't able to investigate it any further because it was very apparent that they were critters of whatever sort living within the building. And so, traveling alone, he thought it probably not very wise to go exploring too deep into the area. But you do also know, kind of like looking to your notes or whatever, that there is another one in this region. Its exact location is going to be hard to find. It would require a bit of research, but there's definitely another one here in this region. Maybe a day's travel, maybe 5, who knows? But in this area. Unfortunately, as I may have said beforehand, but if not, none of your characters actually have maps of the region. The only one with an actual depicted drawn out bit is Valorant, and it's done so by text. So
I read that he drew it himself, and he's not good at drawing.
Yeah.
So
it's like a kids' TV show pirate map. You know what I'm talking about, Jake. You know what I'm talking about.
He would just sort of he would at first sort of sit back and look at it, and then sort of hang on, that's Mole, isn't it? Pointing
Yes.
to the rock.
It is.
Where did you find that?
There's no interesting story to it. I went out for my morning piss and I saw it there.
Interesting. And he's going to literally pull out the drawn map, look at the area. And in looking around, that maybe when he sees the fire, he's like, there was one last part of the vision. Give me a second. And he's going to sort of do the whole lick. So try and tell the direction that the wind's going in.
So as you do that and try to test the wind, actually roll me your survival check, because this isn't something that's easy to do. Maybe a bit easier for one.
That's not bad.
Every time I say your character's name, Jake, I always want to just be like, there could only be one. So when it gets so Highlandery, you know what I mean?
We're going to meet another one, and it's just not going to end well.
I guess it's better to be number 1 than to be number 2. So actually, testing it, you're feeling where the wind is, and I should have been prepared for your question. Give for me a moment, please. God damn it. I want to say it's actually south west of where you are, because just remember that I have that image over there. So.
Oh, okay. So that's not in the direction of because we're off to the west of Forvin, right?
Over my apologies. I know west of where you are. It took me a moment to find the image. It is in the direction west of where you are, is where the wind is blowing.
Okay. Okay, so the last part of the vision, I was being drawn in the direction of the wind, which is that way. I just sort of like realize what he said and be like, we could try checking it out, even just a little bit, and then if it takes too long, we can continue on to Forvin.
Mm-hmm.
To be a little bit clearer for everybody, west is back into the hilled region.
Yeah.
Northwest is from whence each of you, two of you came. Northwest is along the slave trail, or I say the goat trail.
Yeah, the goat trail.
And what time is it now?
He's having this conversation with you in the evening, kind of like this is still that day before next morning when you guys get up and leave.
I'm not sure it would be wise to venture out in the dark.
No, I was more talking about tomorrow rather than today. I don't plan to go anywhere tonight.
You are aware that the wind changes direction, yes?
Yes. We will see if it changes. It will hopefully be the same. Otherwise, I will be at a loss about what to do next. Or I will find out more tonight. We will find out. It's been a strange couple of years.
Well, respectfully, Valrin, I don't really intend to follow a potentially vision-fueled Perrin deeper into the mountains. However, I also find myself in a rather dire need of coin.
Well,
Seeing as
Sorry.
your recent guide passed away, and presumably bequeathed unto you his coin purse.
I okay, I can do that. I will ruffle around, and I'll actually pull out 5 gold and hand it over.
I say, I'm also in need of coin.
Oh, that's awesome.
As stupid as it is, I will hand 5 gold to him as well, just because he's just okay.
That's a
Oh. He's like, oh, there's handouts, free cookies.
Yeah.
Well then, tomorrow morning we will follow the direction of the wind.
Good. Little do they know, that's how much I was paying the other guy, one guy.
So I'm just gonna watch me kind of take off my boot, and I like open the heel, and I take out this vial, and I say, "Can one of you tell me what this is?"
I can probably have a look.
I hand it over.
You know, the Amaltes are actually known for their skill with magical items.
You say that
Unless, of
as
course, that's an alcoholic beverage.
I was about to say, you say that as his hands light up with detect magic.
And so you detect the presence of magic on this vial, and we cast detect magic in the area. You do not detect magic on the vial.
It's not magical. Well,
So
hand it back.
you can't tell me what it is, then?
You can also roll things like craft alchemy checks to discover what stuff is.
I can try. You know what? Let's do it. I can have a look. I'll try and I'll like pop it open, sniff, close it.
Roll me a one. Roll me a one, baby.
So craft alchemy. How do I do this? Up here.
Yep.
I just roll craft.
Correct. Unless you have something specified, you can just do a regular craft.
Nope. Hey, that's not too bad.
Actually, it's not bad. You smell it. It doesn't really give much of a smell. But then again, there's many liquids that just don't. So needing to test it a little bit further than just the sniffing and handing back and so on and so forth, you ever so slightly, we're talking like half of a dribble, you know what I mean? Let some out onto a nearby rock, and nothing happens. And you pop the thing back in, you're like, I honestly don't know what else to do. And then you look down at the rock and you see it's bubbling and burning into the rock.
He definitely dipped his finger in it.
Yes! Natty one! I wanted a natty one!
Yeah, luckily, I was smart enough not to do that.
Yeah.
I'm dumb. My character's smart.
So you're able to clearly tell it is some form of acid.
I'm just going to gesture to that. It's like, mystery salt. Hand it back.
He says, I was going to drink that.
Good thing you didn't.
And then you could actually roll me a wisdom check there, my Inquisitor.
Wisdom.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, you like the number 5. So no, I think it's your second or third 8 tonight there, Jake. Sorry. So no extra insights or anything like that for you.
If you go to put it back in your shoe, because you got it out of like the shoe thing, did you? That is probably a bad idea.
Very fast.
Agreed.
Puts it in there anyways.
Okay. Just
Think about it this way, though. Worst comes to worst, someone disarms you. You kick him in the face.
wow.
Done.
Kick with acid damage.
Yeah.
Do you actually put it in the shoe?
No, I put it in my bag.
Okay.
Good. I didn't want that natty one on walking. And then acid.
I found it in the shoe.
Yeah, that's a real dumb place to put it.
So, you guys are, so you spend the night, next morning you get up, you get ready, all of you together. Obviously, what's her name? Jaden, as everybody's kind of getting together and putting their stuff like in the packs and so on. She's actually going to make her way over to Val and while he's getting the stuff together and says, so, I heard that you were handing out coin for those that were traveling with you. Seems as though you're the benefactor here.
Fine. He will hand 5 gold out. I think you like this is him being not realizing how valuable gold is. He had a good life.
So you hand over the 5 coin. She tosses like a quarter smile over to Rayrin. And
5 silver would have been like, great.
Yeah. Okay, so I will once again test the wind. Does it go in the same direction?
So kind of funny. This morning, you felt the winds kind of billowing in a few different directions. You know what I mean? Like sometimes your hair was blowing this way, sometimes it was going that way, as it does when you're inside of like a hilly region, right? Hillocks. So when you finally stop and you're like, okay, let's go, and you test again, the wind is calm at first, and then it continues to blow west.
Ooh,
The sun is
that's gonna have his like. Okay, good. He's no longer worried. He was worried, and now he's not worried. And now, let's go.
So you guys are able to start your trek going in that direction. Now,
And he's going to be very eagerly walking, like he's just like, good. Okay, before when he was walking up the hill, he was sort of like, I don't know what to do. Now he's like got a purpose. He's going.
So you guys are going to start doing this trek. Now, unfortunately, like I said, it's not really a map. You have a very, very, very crude map drawn that has 0 proportions or anything like that. It's mostly your notes. So as you guys are traveling along, I imagine your character, correct me if I'm wrong, understands his persona and whatnot well enough. He is pulling out his book, kind of checking things, stopping, closing it back up, da-da-da. Sometimes even
he will
falling
be
behind.
writing notes about locations as well. Like
So even annotating. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
I would be checking for tracks and things along the way as well.
Sure. To see if anything like that. You said tracks or traps?
Tracks.
With a K, with a CK. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, so you're going to be doing that while he's checking the book. So it's honestly, it's one of those things where I know while your character's probably not the best when it comes to, survival in general there, Val, it does kind of fall to your shoulders.
Yeah.
I am going to allow a +2 from, what's his name? From 1 helping you. Does anybody else help in any other way? For instance, what is Rayrin doing during this walk? Is he also investigating the trails? Or is he more keeping... scouting? What is?
He kind of finds this whole thing a little bit amusing. So he is. Oh my god! Kitten just climbed my bare leg. Ow! You're a little monster. He would be paying attention to which way the wind is blowing. Mm-hmm. And when we divert from that course, poking fun, he would say the wind's blowing that way.
So actually funny, you would do that. And so Val, obviously, because you get distracted, you're doing a lot of things, checking your notes, so on and so forth. If he does that, if he pokes fun, you stop, and every time you test it, it seems to actually be calm and then blowing west again.
Okay.
And well,
I like it.
The wind is consistently blowing west, even if sometimes you have to step off the trail. And I imagine you're not poking fun at these moments there, Rayrin. Sometimes you do have to step off of the exact direction it's blowing because you're going around like a difficult obstacle and whatnot. So it's almost as though every time he pokes fun, you're at least reaffirmed in your own mind.
He probably wouldn't even notice the poking fun. He would just sort of like he would honestly be like, "Oh, thank you," and then keep going.
And then Jaden herself is not assisting. She's actually going to be straight up being a lookout, probably pulling up the rear a good bit. I believe she's the only one amongst the 3 of you that does not have a form of ranged combat. Actually, she could have picked one up because it was that heavy crossbow that was left behind when you murderized that guy.
Okay, yeah, you went back round. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it was left behind before, but now it can be picked up. So I guess she would have that. All right, so you guys are able to continue your trek to the west. Roll for me, sir, your survival check, and let's remember to add on a +2 from Jake.
Oh, that was almost good, and then it was real bad.
Unfortunately, the region is not very kind to the three of you. It is a bit treacherous in the sense that every time, because you are very, I want to go west as much as possible. I want to go west as much as possible. And so sometimes you'll look and you'll be like, it's a steep climb, but let's do it anyways. It's sticking to that direction. And then not only do you go up a steep climb, but you end up finding yourself into scenarios where it's just too treacherous to continue on. There's a huge chasm in your way, so on and so forth. And so you end up backtracking a ton. It actually gets to the point where the others of the party, the ones that are even more adept at doing things like trekking through this region, are probably getting a little annoyed with your lack of knowledge of how to do this kind of trekking. And maybe they're starting to think to themselves, them stepping forward wouldn't be a bad idea. We're going to have your first check sum up the entire first day of travel. You guys have literally traveled the better part of a day, making very, very little progress. You guys have seen beforehand as the PCs that kind of like a hex grid of where it is that you guys are going along. You've made it through about half of a hex's region during this first day's trek.
Oh dear.
So that night, perhaps you recalibrate. Any role playing amongst the three of you, or we just kind of like jump forward again? And I'm not rolling a secret 1D100 on my screen over here at all.
Oh dear.
So, where are we supposed to be headed?
Well, I have an idea. One in my research, I found a couple of places of note. One of them should be nearby. That should be of mole design, I believe. I'm pointing to the rock. Oh, pointing and gesturing to pockets where I assume you have the rock. And that's my current going theory. But every time I checked the wind, it rearranged itself to be going west. So
Perhaps there's another more reliable way you could attempt to find these ruins, not just the direction of the wind.
unfortunately, all I have is old texts giving vague ideas of where they are. I attempted to draw a map. Holds it up and it would just look terrible. It's as close as I could get.
What do you think these ruins were used for?
That I'm not sure. Possibly not good. Possibly good.
The Mal are capable warriors and very tactically minded. If I might suggest, you also try to include a well-defensible area in your search. You might find it easier to find if a place exists.
I hadn't considered that. Thank you. And he's going to start changing notes and updating notes.
Raren Light. He glances in the direction of one to see what his opinion of the goings-ons are. There's like a moment of eye contact, slight smirk, and then looks away.
One kind of says, don't put our ideas in his head. He's already bad enough.
Honestly, I would be probably too busy taking notes to notice. Just like, I gotta get this dated.
So, obviously, you're going to kind of like reapproach this slightly differently the next morning to see what you're going to do. Do you turn to advice of the others, or do you just still spearhead this yourself?
No, he would actually stop and be... If I give you directions, can you lead us through a much better path? I did a very poor job yesterday.
He says, yeah, I'll give it a go.
Thank you. And I'm going to start showing him generally the direction, and then if he, I'll wait. I'll check if we're going on the direction every now and then and try and like maneuver us back on path.
All right, flipping the tail on its head, why don't we have Jake actually roll this next survival check with you giving the +2 on your ends there, Valorant, from your understanding of the region. Jake?
Now that I was talking shit, I bet I'll roll a 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Walk us off a cliff.
Alright, so the +2 to this.
Oh, God. Hey!
Damn.
Oh, good.
There we go.
Good. Like, see, Varen thought this entire place was like nice, like plains, and then all of a sudden it's this crap. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, him.
So you, as I had said beforehand, you were actually spending a considerable amount of time in the province of Vala prior to being here, which is it's actually one of the most mountainous regions in this half of Eroth, the continent. So you're very familiar with how to trek through these areas, and listening to the advice given from Rayron before, defensible positions, listening to your heart and how it is that you know these regions, but also following the notes he has there, you actually have a really easy time finding things. First thing you do is you're like, you're not going to like it, boys, but we're going to climb the tallest nearest region that we can find so we can get a good scouting. And so you guys do that. Not the hill that you're in, but the one nearby, you go and climb to the top of it. It's a hard hike. Your thighs are killing you already from the days prior, but who cares? It's going to get you to where you need to be. So you climb up the top of it, and you start looking about, and you do see, out of this entire region, taking it in, you find the area that you think is the most defensible. Not because it's the tallest or anything like that, but because it's actually like a good enough gap of space from the other mountains that others wouldn't necessarily be able to have advantage against them. You know what I'm saying? And so you start trekking along. But along that path, just to get from A to B, you're taking smarter you're taking a smarter avenue. The way that you know there likely would have been trails carved in or beaten down over the course of the millennia of civilizations living here in the past. Mull are an old society, and you don't know much about them, but you do know they are people that walk with legs. So likely they would go this path. And you're rewarded for your efforts, not just because you do in fact find those trails, but more importantly, you actually also find little jut-offs along the way. So one of the things that you'll notice, jut-offs along the way. So one of the things that you'll notice when you're traveling through different regions are very often places where it's a common spot for one to stop. Caravan trails that very often have like big wagon caravans traveling along them with the merchant goods and whatnot would have very specific locations that are very well defended. And so they're used often. And so it's like kind of a safer spot where you can stop. Well, also like paths for the adventurers and even Royal Guard and whatnot to travel along, they would also have their favorite spots. Well, you happen to come across one such spot in this region. However, this region hasn't been trekked through in a very, very, very long time. So as you're traveling along one of these trails, you do see one of these kind of like cutoffs. You can tell that this path hasn't been used in a long time. There are no markings here. There's no steps there, so on and so forth. But it very obviously leads into a small cave. A cave with a high ceiling but a small opening, making it very well defendable as like a kind of a chokehold, if need be, for things coming in or out of it. But at the same time, large enough on the inside that you could stay dry, be removed from the various winds in this region, and so on. Going to investigate that cave yourselves, you go in, and who would actually be the first person to walk into the cave, knowing that only one can go in at a time, interested in a comfortable place for you to spend the next like resting time? You can send Jade in, the NPC.
I'd probably take my battle axe out, and I have dark vision too, so
correct.
I'd probably.
I would throw up a dancing lights.
Well, dark vision. So I'm just gonna. I was literally just about to say for viewers and players that aren't familiar with Pathfinder 3rd Edition, all those, the ones that are more familiar with 5e. In 5e, there's something called dark vision, which is you can see in darkness. And whatnot. That's all that exists in these earlier editions. There's also low light vision. So I believe you have low light vision there, Tesh, which means that in twilight or dim light, you can actually see twice as well as a human can, seeing significantly further, not taking any penalties, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Neil, of course, being the baseline, being human. What you have, Jake, is you don't have low light vision. So if it's dim, if the light's dim, you have a hard time seeing, just like a typical human does. You step on the kid's toy and cuss to yourself in the middle of the night, right? But in true darkness, or very, 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 very dim light where you can barely see anything, that's where your vision kind of clicks in. It's black and white vision. You can discern no colors, just varying shades of gray from black to white. And you can actually see perfect detail within that region. There are other types of vision that exist in this edition, but we don't need to get into that for now. So Dancing Lights would actually disrupt his dark vision, and I think Dancing Lights actually gives more of a dim light than it does a bright light. So Dancing Lights is actually better for you than it is for him.
Aurorum wouldn't know that, so would actually like start up and say, "So you can see better."
That hinders my sight. Can you maybe take the rear?
Oh, okay. Okay. It moves to the back, just sort of moves out of the way, pulls the dancing lights with him.
Yep. So it's kind of like as he's like looping in, you're probably sending the dancing lights like into the mouth, but you just kind of like pull them like almost like sad. Pull them back out.
Yeah. I would look to the others. Can you see in the dark?
Rowan just shakes his head.
He's human.
As he says that, one of the dancing lights goes and hovers over him. And yeah, same with Jaden, I assume.
So you go. It's like I said, it's a bit of a low ceiling. It's not like it's difficult for you to climb in there. It's literally just like a duck, and like kind of turn your shoulder sideways, put a hand on the rail, and kind of like slip yourself in. You wouldn't be able to full-fledged run out of here, but you can get in and out in a hurry if you wanted to. But clearly, only one person at a time. You know what I mean? So you go walking in first, and as you step in there, you take a moment, blink your eyes, and all of a sudden you transition into the site that you actually very often feel more comfortable with. You know, all of a sudden the details just become so sharp. Like the lines around everything in front of you just become so vivid. You can just see those finer details. Sure, you lose everything that you lose in color. You gain in just. I'm reiterating over and over again, but sharpness, just fineness before you. So you go in and you look about, and immediately you can see this is clearly what you thought it was. This is clearly a little region that would have been used as kind of like a step aside before. However, it also clearly hasn't been used in a long time, and, to use the word one more time, clearly the last time it was used, things didn't quite work out in the favor of those that had trekked through the area. You had noticed it had stepped in something right as you were coming into the cave, but as you finished stepping your way through and blinked your eyes a few times and looked back, you can see you had actually stepped on a rib cage of some smaller creature over here before. You could crack the ribs, but who cares? Again, those are old bones. And there's their tattered, barely still existing clothes on the ground. And if they had a weapon amongst them, it's lost, taken, or destroyed over time. Looking into the cave, you can also see that there's a bunch more littered bones about. Do me a favor. Can you actually roll me? The DC is higher for a knowledge nature check, lower for a heal check. I said heal, I meant... Yeah, heal is what I meant.
Okay. Knowledge. Okay, I'm going to do a heal check.
Oh wow, you are crushing it tonight, sir. I'm glad. I'm glad we got you're having highs and lows. It's good. Feast your fam.
Yeah.
So looking about, you can instantly tell these are clearly the bodies of goblins. Like, not even just goblin kin. There's no surprise in your minds. These are clearly the bodies of goblins, long since decayed. The bones very old and brittle and easily breaking as you step on them and through them. But also looking through the littered bones in the area. And the reason, again, likely that there's no weapons is because they probably were using weapons made out of organic materials. Other bones, stone or well, stone's not organic, but you know what I mean, or wood. So it's not there any longer. It's withered away. But also looking through amongst the bones with your very high check, you can eventually discern the difference between their bones and the rib cages and femurs and whatnot of clearly other creatures that existed here as well. One littered amongst the bones, and one more nearby, a little bit further back inside the small cave, and then two finally in the back area of the cave. There clearly was a group of 4 people that were in here long ago, but had fought to their last and unfortunately did not survive. Perhaps none of the goblins survived as well, or perhaps they were too stupid to realize what it was that was littered there. But there's actually the packs and whatnot, and some of the armor from the adventurers from beforehand did still survive. The armor itself is dinged up, has the markings of the combats of probably that battle and many before it, and does have rust about it as well. But you do also see there is a rotted leather pack with some goods still in supply on the inside. I imagine you don't immediately go over and touch things, but kind of take in the rest of the area as well.
Can I see the entirety of the cave?
Yeah, actually, you can. You the whole cave mouth. The whole cave, once you get through the mouth, is in its depth stretches back just shy of 20 feet. At its widest point is about 12, 13 feet. At its thinner points, about 4 feet, 5 feet or so, which is kind of like when you first stepped in. So imagine almost like a light bulb lying down on its side.
Yeah. So, being from where I'm from originally, I kind of take that in, and I speak in Necril, and I just say, "Anyone home?"
So you say that, and anybody outside the cave, you can roll me. I imagine you speak softly, but roll me a perception check just in case.
Ooh.
Okay, so Valorant, you can't make out the words. You can't even make out the full definition. But something is said within the cave. Some words, almost feels like an incantation is what it could have been. And it immediately sends a shiver down your spine, like something cold had touched you at your core. But nothing is there, and you can't feel necessarily any magic directly.
No, not again. Look at the face he paused on as well. Oh, there we go.
Oh, he's
The
back.
suspense.
I never lost you guys. Hi, chat. Hopefully I'm back. If any issues, we're just going to say refresh. Let me just type refresh.
was so
Refresh
great.
if need be. I watched, as you said, oh no, I was at 1400 KBS, and then it dropped to 0 for a couple seconds. I just went silent and waited. And then it slashed up to like 6,000 and then settled back to... okay, there we go. I don't know why it's been inconsistent lately. Fuck Comcast. All right, moving on. All right, so what did I just say to you last, Jake? I'm sorry.
No, I can't remember.
Nothing responds, I think.
So nothing responds.
Yeah.
You the cold chill down your spine. Did you get all that, Tesh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. But not necessarily any magic behind those words. Nothing responds to you, Jake. Nothing says anything to you. You feel
Nothing stirs or anything in the.
nothing whatsoever. Just the fact that saying the words themselves, as you know, always have kind of like their effect on your throats because it's hard to pronounce.
The
Them.
name of the Father, and the Son, the Holy Spirit. He condemns Scott's soul to rest.
Oh,
Video's
he's
back. Video's back. I'm waiting to see if the stream is completely dead. Hold on.
Now, Scott,
My KBS is a 0. Fuck.
look at this little shit. Look at this.
Oh, what? Did he just?
Not again.
Wait, what I like is he goes, my KBS is it.
Guys, can you hear me at all or no?
Yeah, a little bit.
My
He keeps
KBS
cutting
is
out, and
0.
you're frozen.
I'm gonna end for a minute, okay?
Oh. Yep. Oh, yep.